Finding an unknown creature usually conjures images of dusty bones pulled from the earth. But the frontier of biological discovery has shifted away from physical fossils and into the genetic code of organisms alive right now. A recent piece in Smithsonian Magazine shows researchers skipping the archaeological dig to find extinct ancestors. Instead, they are tracing ancient ghost populations by reading the DNA of living people. Meanwhile, Benji Jones writes in Vox about scientists scanning the genetic barcodes of insects buzzing around New York City to identify entirely new species. Putting these two approaches together reveals something surprising. The most mysterious creatures aren't always buried in ancient rock. Sometimes they are hiding in plain sight. Published just last week in Smithsonian Magazine, this piece looks at how scientists are tracking down extinct human ancestors without digging up a single bone. Instead of relying on rare fossils, researchers are mapping our family tree using the DNA of people walking around today. Listen for the exact moment the article explains how a new technique spotted a 1.8 million-year-old genetic ghost hiding right inside modern genomes.
Traces of two extinct ghost ancestors were found hiding in modern human DNA, hinting at our extremely complex family tree. Researchers used a new method to investigate past interbreeding with Homo sapiens that doesn't require ancient DNA. The technique identified areas of living humans' genomes that came from unknown hominins, including one from a 1.8 million-year-old lineage. The evolutionary tree that produced Homo sapiens might contain more knots than previously thought. Researchers have identified traces of two ancient hominin species in the DNA of modern humans. One of these ghost ancestors interbred with H. sapiens more than 50,000 years ago, while the other contributed genetic material indirectly via Denisovans, another of our extinct cousins, more than 200,000 years ago, according to a study published on July 30th in the journal Science. H. sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans, which all once lived at the same time, descended from a common ancestor in Africa. Ancestors of modern humans diverged from that lineage roughly 550,000 to 765,000 years ago, and the ancestors of Neanderthals and Denisovans later diverged from one another. Eventually, those extinct species spread to Eurasia. After H. sapiens evolved around 300,000 years ago, some populations migrated out of Africa and caught up with their cousins, where interbreeding took place. Today, snippets of the modern human genetic instruction book, or genome, come from Neanderthals and Denisovans. Most non-African people inherited about 1 to 2% of their DNA from Neanderthals, while individuals from Asia and Oceania inherited roughly 0.1 to 5% of their genomes from Denisovans. Earlier work had already suggested that our genome includes DNA from hominins besides those two relatives.
But the new study tracked where their contributions lie in our genome and revealed when their genetic material entered ours. Researchers accomplished the feat using a novel technique that can examine current-day human DNA rather than relying on ancient DNA. We no longer have to wait for extraordinary fossil preservation to learn about extinct human populations, study co-author Priya Morjani, an evolutionary geneticist at the University of California, Berkeley, tells Live Science's Charles Q. Choi. Instead, the genomes of living people contain traces of these ancient ancestors, and genealogical methods allow us to recover some of that hidden history. She and her colleagues analyzed more than 500 living humans' genomes from a database created to catalog our genetic variations. The new research technique helped them recreate genealogical relationships across various parts of H. sapiens' DNA, building a family tree that showed how genetic segments are related through shared ancestry. I believe it is the next frontier of research in human genetics because it allows us to even learn about our ancestors for whom we don't have any fossil DNA evidence, Morjani tells New Scientist's Michael LePage. The team successfully identified DNA from Neanderthals and Denisovans, but they also found evidence of genetic material from two other hominin relatives, which each entered the modern human genome at a distinct time. Analyses revealed that one of these ghost ancestors is responsible for around 1% of modern human genomes. That indicates that they interbred with H. sapiens before our species' most recent migration from Africa into Eurasia around 50,000 years ago. This ghost ancestor might have been H. rhodonensis.
Heidelbergensis, the team suggests, a species that lived in Europe, parts of Africa, and potentially Asia around 200,000 to 700,000 years ago. I agree with their speculation that this ghost could have been the species Homo heidelbergensis, which was present in Africa as recently as 300,000 years ago. Chris Stringer, a paleoanthropologist at the Natural History Museum in London, who did not participate in the study, tells Live Science. Whoever this mysterious relative was, they diverged approximately 800,000 years ago from the lineage that eventually produced modern humans. That's around the same time that the ancestors of Neanderthals and Denisovans branched off. Did you know? Neanderthal men may have had a thing for H. sapiens women. In a study published in February, researchers examined the genomes of female Neanderthals and modern human women. DNA patterns in their sex chromosomes hinted at a higher frequency of Neanderthal dads and H. sapiens moms than the other way around. The other recently identified ancestor comes from a much older lineage, dating back 1.8 million years. Genetic traces of this super-archaic ancestor were identified in the genomes of people in Oceania, though only inside regions inherited from Denisovans. This indicates that this mysterious hominin interbred with Denisovans, who then interbred with H. sapiens, passing on the hominin's DNA indirectly. This extremely ancient population may have been H. erectus, according to the researchers, early humans who lived in parts of Africa and Asia between around 110,000 and 1.89 million years ago. The findings emphasize that early modern humans did not evolve in isolation. They are the product of a diverse group of ancestors whose existence persists not just in the archaeological record, but in our genetic makeup. We often think of human evolution as a branching tree, Moorjani says in a statement. But new genomic data and analytical methods reveal a much more interconnected history, more like a complex web of populations, connected by repeated episodes of migration and mixing.
Reading the genetic code of 500 living people, the Smithsonian piece leaves you with a strange image. The ghosts of extinct ancestors are still walking around inside the modern human body. You don't necessarily need to dig up a million-year-old bone to find a lost branch of the family tree. That shift, from digging in the dirt to reading the genes of the living, is exactly where Benji Jones picks up the thread. But instead of looking backward at human history, Jones looks outward at the modern city. He sets up a 5-foot bug trap right in the middle of New York, catching thousands of flies and wasps. By reading their DNA barcodes, he realizes that entirely unknown species are likely buzzing around Central Park right now. Read alongside the Smithsonian article, Jones's urban experiment changes how you might picture a biological frontier. The undiscovered world is simply hiding in plain sight, written into the DNA of the people waiting on a subway platform and the insects flying past the street lamps above them. What lingers after these two stories is the image of an unmapped insect buzzing past a coffee shop, or an ancient ancestor hiding inside a modern drop of blood. The frontier of discovery has moved from dusty dig sites right into the middle of the city. The unknown isn't far away anymore. It's alive, and it's sharing the sidewalk. That leaves a quiet question to sit with. If so much history and wild biology are already hiding in plain sight, what else is waiting to be found right underfoot?